So you're a mid-level software engineer, right? You're good at your job, you can ship code, you can squash bugs, but your career just feels stuck. If you're feeling like you've kind of hit a wall, trust me, you are not alone. We're about to break down the common traps that are probably holding you back and figure out how to get that growth engine started again.
Does this feel a little too real? You're doing solid work, you're comfortable, maybe a little too comfortable. It's so easy to slip into cruise control without even noticing. So think of this explainer as a quick checkup, a way to see if you've accidentally steered into some common pitfalls that are slowing you down. All right, we're going to break this down into 4 big traps. First, your tech skills getting rusty. Second, just letting your career drift. Third, doing great work that nobody sees. And finally, the big one, the ever-present danger of burnout. Let's dive in. Okay, first up, technical stagnation. This one is so sneaky because it happens when you're actually really good at your job. Your comfort zone becomes, well, a long-term danger zone for your career. This is what happens when you get laser-focused on one particular product or framework and you stop peeking over the fence to see what's new. You become the absolute expert on yesterday's technology. And that feels awesome, right? Until you look up and the entire industry has sprinted past you. And believe me, it moves fast.
Okay, this should be a wake-up call. The half-life of a technical skill is estimated to be just 2.5 years. Just let that sink in for a second. In less time than it takes to finish a big project, half of what you know could be on its way to being obsolete. If you haven't learned a major new skill in the last few years, you're falling behind, even if you feel super productive today.
And this really lays it out, doesn't it? You've got 2 paths in front of you. You can stay in your lane, doing the routine stuff in the code base you know like the back of your hand. Your skills get a little dull, and you wonder why you're being passed over for promotions. Or you can seek out the scary stuff, lead that new project, jump into that weird, unfamiliar architecture. That's where growth explodes, and that's when people start seeing you as a leader.
Okay, so how do we fight back against this? You have to start treating learning like it's a core part of your job. Because it is. Spin up some side projects just to play with new tech. Stick your hand up for the tasks that make you a little nervous. But most importantly, you have to adopt a growth mindset. It's the simple shift from saying, I don't know that, to saying, I don't know that yet.
All right, let's roll into our second big trap, because it builds right on top of the first one. This is career inertia. It's the massive mistake of just letting your career happen to you instead of grabbing the steering wheel yourself.
And wow, this chart just spells it out in dollars and cents, doesn't it? Person A stays put, gets those small, predictable 4% raises, and lands at 90 grand. Person B, on the other hand, makes a strategic move after a few years and gets a huge bump, landing north of 120,000. You do that a couple of times over your career, and we're talking about a life-changing amount of money. Being loyal to a company that isn't loyal to your growth is expensive.
And a huge reason for this inertia is we just don't like to ask for more. A shocking 59% of us don't negotiate our salary, we just take the first number they slide across the table. That one moment of being uncomfortable can literally cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of your career. So what actually happens if you do ask? Well, here's the crazy part. The odds are completely in your favor. Something like 85% of people who negotiate end up with a better offer. Why? Because companies expect it. They build that cushion into the first number they give you. The absolute worst thing that usually happens is they say no. It's almost unheard of for a company to pull an offer just because you ask for more. It's one of the lowest risk, highest reward things you can do for yourself.
You know, this quote just nails it. A company is always going to do what's best for the business. That's its job. Your job is to do what's best for your career. This isn't about being selfish or disloyal. It's about being the CEO of your own professional journey. So, the antidote to inertia is simple. Be proactive. Put a reminder on your calendar every 6 months to ask yourself, am I still learning and growing here? Go to sites like levels.fyi and know what you're actually worth on the open market. Figure out what you want next. And for heaven's sake, practice asking for it. It feels awkward at first, but it gets easier every time.
All right, trap number 3. This one's a big one. Professional invisibility. This is the myth that if you just put your head down and write amazing code, someone will eventually tap you on the shoulder with a promotion. I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's just not how the world works.
Look, this is all about those so-called soft skills, which are actually the hardest and most important skills to master. If you can't communicate your ideas, they die on the vine. You get stuck doing individual tickets. But if you can explain complex ideas clearly, if you can persuade people,
If you can make your whole team better, that's when you stop just being a coder and start becoming a leader. That's what opens the door to senior roles.
And you can't talk about visibility without talking about your network. Get this. More than half of all jobs are filled through someone's personal connection. A referral from an employee doesn't just get your resume to the top of the pile, it gives you a champion inside the company. If your only job-seeking strategy is hitting the apply button online, you're playing on the hardest difficulty setting.
Okay, so how do you actually build this brand and become more visible? It's not about becoming some kind of tech celebrity. Start with the basics. Make your LinkedIn profile actually look professional. Put your personal projects on GitHub where people can see them. Offer to give a small tech talk at work about something you learned. And just actively try to help other people. It's the best career insurance you can have.
And this brings us to our final trap. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all, the burnout zone. This is where that hustle culture praise turns toxic, and your drive to succeed starts to actively harm your career and your health.
Okay, I just want you to look at this number for a second. 83%. It's a massive number, and it represents a quiet crisis that's affecting almost all of us in this field.
That's how many software developers say they've suffered from workplace burnout. This is not some rare edge case. It is an industry-wide epidemic. And let's get one thing straight. Burnout is not a badge of honor. It is not a sign of dedication. It is a career-ending condition.
So I want you to do a quick gut check right now. How are you feeling? Are you constantly exhausted? Are you cynical about your work, feeling like nothing you do matters? That's burnout. Or are you feeling energized, inspired, and getting a sense of accomplishment? That's healthy engagement. Knowing the difference is the absolute first step.
Look, your career is a marathon, not a sprint. You have to protect your energy. That means setting real boundaries, like closing your laptop at a reasonable hour. It means using every single one of your vacation days to actually disconnect. And it means having a life and hobbies that have nothing to do with a keyboard. A rested, happy engineer will always outperform a burnt-out one.
You know, if there's one single idea that ties all four of these traps together, it's this. You have to be the pilot of your own career. It's not something that just happens to you. It's the result of hundreds of small, proactive choices you make. Just waiting for things to get better is a recipe for staying stuck.
Look, this can feel like a lot. I get it. You don't have to fix everything overnight. The goal here is just to start moving. Pick one small thing. Maybe this week you just spend 30 minutes updating your LinkedIn, or you sign up for one online course, or you just block off time on your calendar to take a real lunch break away from your desk. So my question for you is simple. What's the one small step you'll take this week to start steering?